Welcome, everyone. Let's settle in, prepare. Maybe finding your seat and noticing the process of what happens when you practice yoga. Like, what does that mean? How the body, we arrange it. You might be sitting a lot during the day, but when we sit to do yoga, it's a really different awareness, a body awareness, and then how we're gathering the mind and bringing full awareness here. Maybe just a couple deeper breaths where you practice putting things down. You might notice that shift, real shift of awareness right here. What does the body feel like today? Are there just kind of unknown, kind of mystery aches or pains? Or just how have you been treating yourself? What have you been eating or drinking? Has there been water? So today we're going to do a practice, and yeah, I just was inspired by all of my different resources and um, kind of teachers that I follow. And I thought today we would spend some time with our psoas. I know I've done some classes around the lower back and lower front, hips, pelvis, but really naming this muscle, the iliopsoas muscle. So if you can see in this picture, um, put it even closer. So it's a huge muscle. So there's the lower, like 5 vertebra, of your lumbar. And this giant muscle is connected kind of in the back side. And then it goes right in front of your hips. See how it goes like right in front of the hip bone, in front of the pelvis. And then it attaches way down on the inner femur bone. Can you see? This is your femur bone, and this is the head of the femur bone. Remember that that's the actual socket, and this is that little bony point that you can feel in your outer hip. So, what happens when the psoas muscle, like if you sit a lot, people think like the psoas gets a little short and tight. Well, it also is weak. So it's both, it can be both like tight and weak. So what we're doing today then is we bring awareness around that area of the lower 5 vertebra, and then to kind of inner thigh bones, and feeling how that giant muscle is a hip flexor. So if you can see, if that muscle were to shorten and contract, it's going to lift, it's going to hoist your thigh bone up. So it is one of the hip flexors. And we'll also see, you might even get an idea of what is the state of your psoas right now. And then another large group are the quads, your thigh muscles. So we'll maybe get a feeling of, ooh, like you can have kind of loose psoas muscle, really tight thigh muscles. So we'll just spend some time with them. And I like to do this, that if we're talking about the psoas, the lower back, it's going to involve your whole spine. So I really like to get that. If I want to kind of stretch and lengthen the psoas, I think of the whole spine really lifting up. So we're going to start on the back. We're just going to do a little warm up, but then we're going to go right into that psoas awareness. And actually, as you go ahead and lay on your back, a lot of stuff that we do in the beginning, it does get right into the lower back. So reach your arms out to the side and bend your knees at first here. We'll just do just our kind of our usual, I don't like to blast into things, even in our level 2 class. So knees are bent, your feet are on the mat, arms go up to the side. So you can feel your spine here. And then if you were just to reach your right leg up and then circle your foot around, move your toes around, spread your toes, and just feel wake up through your foot and your ankle. And then just switch. Your right foot comes down to the floor and then your left leg reaches up. And you circle that foot around, move your toes. But this actually stays quite heavy on your sacrum. So can you feel that kind of pressure? The lower back has a real minimal curve here. And just do this kind of back and forth. You just reach your right leg up, you reach your left leg up, while lengthening your spine against the floor, while keeping the throat really open. And then even start to kind of reach your legs out to the side. So as they straighten, instead of your foot reaching straight up to the ceiling, you start to go side to side, and let this be just a very organic movement. You do have a slight lift of your spine up. So when you extend your leg, you're not like sinking your chest down or pushing your back down. It almost floats up a little bit. And your upper arms and your shoulders are grounded. Now, just go ahead and bring the right knee into the chest. You can take your hands behind that right thigh and let that left leg extend. So keep your right hand on your right thigh, but take your left leg right in front of your left hip. It's almost like you're trying to feel like, where is my psoas? So you might imagine, your spine is behind you, but that whole vast area of that lower back, large muscle, this psoas, and then it travels in front of your hip, and then it's right at the inner thigh. So it goes like in the front. And that's why when you just lengthen your left leg, you might feel like a big stretch in the front of that hip. So go ahead and switch, and left knee comes into the chest. And this is kind of a passive flexion then of your left psoas. And then that right leg really extends out. And you're just kind of checking this out. You might take your hand, like you're ironing out in front of that hip. Like, how does that? How do all of the hip flexors feel here today? And then just go back and forth. So this is a way of just kind of warming up, flexing and extending around your hip flexors. Breathe through your nose. And again, keep that kind of heavy around your sacrum, lengthening through your spine. Good. And then as you let this go ahead and just roll on over to the side and bring yourself up onto all fours. Now on all fours, I can't resist a little bit of cat and cow here. So let's just let the spine move slightly, kind of taking inventory, feeling the whole length of your back here moving. Even really nice deep breath here, that big exhale as you squeeze out, and that inhale through your nose. Because it's like, this is more of like clearing out your airways, that you might swallow as you do this, just feeling that cleansing breath, cleansing movement for your throat, and the pelvis is moving. So you are doing a little bit of movement through the lower back, lower front. And then as you pause here, so I wanted to do this because the next action here is not going to be a cat and cow. So you're going to keep the back pretty level and flat. Take the knees a little closer together, and then you're going to kind of try to bring the right knee in towards your chest. But you are not going to lift the navel. You're not going to round your back at all. So you're just lifting the right knee, kind of reaching it forward, and then just bring the knee down. And then lift the left knee and just pull that knee into the chest without a round of the back. And then release that down. Now just try that again to see how you're kind of lifting the knee. You're trying to bring it forward, but it probably doesn't go real far, comes down. And the left knee lifts up, it pulls forward a little bit. So that's getting kind of deep into the hip flexors, deep into that psoas. So right leg again, and then left leg again. It's like you're lengthening through your spine, reaching back rather than rounding, almost untucking your tailbone. Now, as a counter action, you're going to reach your right leg back. So that's going to now really lengthen, extend your psoas. Even as you're reaching your leg back, it kind of engage your glutes. Your right glutes, of course, because your right leg is going back. And then you switch. Just see how that feels when you reach the left leg back. Really firm the left glutes. Because when that firms, you know, it would, it's just really naturally going to open the front of the hip. So go ahead and release, but then do that back and forth, just kind of exploring. So when you go back and forth, you might feel that, you know, through the right glutes, left glutes, and your hamstrings have to work here. Now, just take this to a little bit of a down dog. So your feet are really wide apart. And you get that nice big lift of your heels way up, lift the hips way up. And this is just going to get into that kind of pulling, lengthening through your lower back. And then just come to standing. Just walk forward. And as you come up, standing upright. So just the action of standing upright can bring awareness to the front of the hips. So if we're practicing, if you're grounding your heels, your arms come down, there's going to be some engagement to lift and open in front of the hips here. So again, we're going to start now by actually working the hip flexors. And you'll do this by just standing on your right leg and just start to lift your left knee up. Take your hands under your thigh and kind of hoist the knee up, making sure that you're not like elevating and lifting your hip way up. So in a way that the left hip kind of drops down as you're just lifting that thigh bone up. And as you're doing this, you really want to straighten the right leg. You might even feel behind like that real firming of your glutes, your right glutes. To straighten your leg and lift up through the spine here. So you're holding, you're lifting, and we're going to do a little exercise here where your left knee is bent, but now you're going to bend your right knee. And you're going to kind of lean forward here, really bending both knees to the point where they actually meet. Okay, left knee, right knee, and then you just straighten up. Straightening that right leg, get as tall as you can, even feel your right glutes really engage. And then you do that again. So you let this just hinge forward, bending both knees, and then you lift up again. Firm, strong standing leg. And then release. Just bringing that left foot down. And as you bring the right knee lifted up, holding the right thigh, and firm and straighten that left leg. So the way that these muscles work is if you engage behind in your glutes, that is shortening, and that means the front is lengthening. And you might really feel that because you were using this left side, and now it's really open. So we bend the left knee. And you kind of fold forward. You bend, like you're bending that knee so much. The knees kind of align, and then you straighten again. I know this might be tippy. So you need to move at your own pace. Get it nice and tall, and then you practice again. Your own pace. Maybe that knee doesn't go all the way down. You're balancing, and then you lift up again, really firm. Glutes, left side, and then you let that go. Pause, arms are down. And then you switch again. You balance on your right leg and you lift this left knee up. So this is a real pure, deep action of those hip flexors. Because what we're going to do now, again, that right leg, your standing leg, firm. Glutes. And see what happens now. Imagine as you're holding this left knee up, that you're going to not let that leg drop as you release it. I know, I'm just holding this. In fact, that left knee, you're going to lift it higher. Try not to lift the outer hip. It's that knee now lifting higher again. If it drops, you're just getting in. Good. And then just release that down. Deep hip flexor work. Switching. Balance on left leg. And as you bring that right knee up, at first the assist. Straight up. So you're not lifting the hip up. You're also keeping that lift up through your spine. Now firm that standing left leg. So again, that like the behind, your glutes have to engage. You might feel them getting that firming. And then you release and that right leg floats. You might really notice a difference. Like one side, even your glutes, when I'm asking you to contract them, one side might get, hardened really easily and the other side doesn't. So that knee lifting up, that right knee is, lifting up. Up. Good, and then you release, you let go, standing tall and upright. What better work to do on a beautiful snowy day? Just getting this, this rich, deep work, and then we get to then move into a little stretching here. So you are going to go, let's go down to our downward facing dog. So you just drop your hands down. Very wide stance though here, so that your hands and your feet are very wide apart, almost an unusual distance for you. Just let yourself breathe here. Keep letting the hips really reach back and extend back. So this is kind of light flexion in your hips. Reach your heels down. So lift the heels up now and then step your right foot forward. And as it steps forward, the back heel is going to stay up and you're going to lift up into this big lunge position. Now find a distance between your feet that really is doable. And then just take your hands on your hips. So ideally here, if we're asking now, we're going to stretch the psoas on the left side. So you're just getting that lifting of your hips. You might even feel your hip bones. There is like lift up, up. And since we're doing that action way down there, that's where I like to also reach your arms up. Could you lift your navel and feel like, oh, that really makes a difference deep into that psoas on the left side. Could you imagine that muscle? That lower spine attached. And especially when you bend that back knee a little bit, and then you straighten it. And then you bend it a little bit, and you straighten it. And the whole time you're lifting up, little bend, little straighten. Yeah, and then reach the arms out to the side. And keep the shoulder blades pressing on the back, and then straighten the front leg. As you straighten that front leg, lift your navel even more. And then re-bend that right knee. And then do that again. You just straighten the front leg. Really lift up your spine. If you want to bring your arms up, you can. It's like lifting your arms up helps you lift the front hip bones. And then you bend that front knee. The back leg is very firm and straight. So imagine that muscle you might even feel deep in the body. That's psoas getting a big stretch. And then as the arms come down, your fingers will touch down. And your back leg is going to drop. So you're just going to touch that left knee down. And your foot will also flatten that back left foot. Now you might kind of play with this one, kind of arrange that distance, like where your right foot is, because you kind of want to inch your left knee back and let that left thigh really drop down. Now this action, you're going to push in the top of the left foot and straighten that back leg. So the top of the left foot is down. This might feel like pretty intense. So we drop the knee down again, and then we straighten again. So you might feel like in front of that left hip again, like there's that length. Now the stretch of the psoas, drop the knee, and then just do it one more time. You straighten the leg. You're looking forward, like chest forward. Good, and then just drop the knee down. Lifting your hands up away from the floor, take the right foot back a little bit because you're going to lift up here. Arms come out to the side. In fact, I like to bring the arms up here. So there's the hoist, the lift of the navel. Take a little bit of a lunge here. You kind of sink into this. And then shift your weight back to that left leg. So you see, like we're now, all my weight is on my left leg. And then I take a little lunge forward, but the pelvis drops slightly. And then you just lift up. So you might feel both the work of this and the stretch, the lift up out of your lower back. One more time, just bending that front knee. Kind of dropping into this a little bit and then back onto your left leg. Good. So arms reach out to the side. And then finally, just take your hands behind your head and interlace your fingers. Your elbows are reaching out to the side a little bit. So I'm back. My weight is on the left leg. And I'm going to reach my left elbow up a little bit. And the right elbow kind of drops and points to the floor. Just follow the sensation here. Like you might feel this deep in your lower back and that psoas muscle. As you lift the front hip bones and just kind of reach that left elbow up. And then releasing. Release the hands forward. You're going to step right foot back. Just go back to your down dog. But very wide. The feet are wide apart. You have a large distance between your hands and your feet. So you're not working real hard here for, the flexion in the hips. Kind of a rest. And yet the spine lengthening. Really practicing this, like sending love to the psoas here by caring for it, by working it and stretching it. So that left foot is going to step forward. And as it steps forward, you're going to bring yourself up here. The back right heel is lifted. Stay grounded, stay balanced. As you come up, and you could reach the arms out to the side, you could bring your arms up, but you do want to stay really steady here. So follow what feels steady. The back leg is going to straighten. And then maybe take hands on your hips, just so you can feel like, oh, there's my front hip bones. My pelvis is not spilling forward. I'm really working. And sometimes I call this action that zip the zipper. Like if you had a pair of pants on and you want to zip, like you might contract your lower abdominal muscles and lift up. And then that back knee is going to bend a little bit. And then it's going to straighten while you're zipping your zipper. And it's going to bend a little bit. You just straighten. So we get this little micro movement that, little bend, a little straightening. Whole body is working here. Little bend, little straighten. Maybe the arms reach up now as you straighten both legs. That left leg. Now as you straighten both legs, you lift the pelvic floor. You get that lifting up through the whole spine. And then re-bend the left knee. And then you straighten again. And then you bend. One more time, you're just straightening, bending. Maybe arms go to the side for a moment. Just feel it lift up out of your back. Back leg straightening. Good, and then you fold and drop forward here. The fingers touch down. And your right knee is going to just drop down and the top of the foot down. Now, I am inching my left foot forward a little bit. Because we're going to straighten that back leg. So you push into the top of the right foot and you straighten that leg. Just see how that feels, like in front of that right hip. Maybe touch the knee down. So yeah, this isn't a giant movement, right? Straighten the right leg. So that knee lifts up and then lightly down. Just doing that again. You straighten, you push into the top of the foot. Lightly the knee down. Now, as you're going to lift up here, so you lift the fingers up, and right away you could just shift weight back onto your right leg, kind of balancing here. And I'm going to bring the arms up just to make sure I'm not sinking into my lower back. As I drop into this lunge, like I'm going to lift the navel, kind of zip the zipper, as I bend the knee, as I lower into the lunge here. And then lifting back up. So just imagine this so as you bend and you lift back up. Just playing with that. Breathing. It's really strong. And then as you come back up, so all your weight is on your right leg. And then I'm going to take my hands behind my head. So with the hands behind the head, the elbows will go to the sides. You just press down and reach that right elbow up. And as it reaches up, you're kind of lifting your ribs up. Just notice where you feel this stretch. I mean, it might be the side of your body. It might be kind of lower back. You might notice that deep area of the psoas, even in front of your hip. So good to do this deep work on right side, left side. Now, as you release, the arms come down, just go forward. You move back to your down dog. It's that wide feet apart, even hands apart, long distance. And then just for this action of lower back, lower front, you're going to move a little bit towards your plank pose. So here we draw the tailbone in, chest forward, and then down dog. Lower back, keeping it growing, lengthening, and then to your plank pose, really firm. Draw tailbone in, and then you're lifting up. Back and forth. And then lightly, you could touch your knees down and then lower onto your belly. So there's just nothing like laying on the floor you use the floor as a prop here to open in front of your hips. So reach your legs back and notice how you're positioning your legs. So you're right on top of them. Like your knees are straight down, the tops of the feet are down. And then lift up to a little Cobra Pose here. So as you're lifting to your Cobra, explore the reaching back. That reaching back of the legs. And then lengthen and lift your legs. And then reach your arms back and move to your full Shavasana. Even intentionally at first, like not very high. Imagine or bring awareness to that psoas area. And just imagine that lengthening. Straightening the legs really matters. And then as you release out of this, let yourself lift again. So, since we've done some deep warming up in the hips, when you lift into your Shalabhasana, we're going to move to Dhanurasana. And see if you can reach back and simultaneously grab your ankles or the tops of your feet. So you're going to bend your knees, reach back, like at the same time. So you really get the feeling of how this feels in your left side or right side. It's good, just like getting to know your body. Lift your thighs up here. Breathe and just feel this sensation in front of your hips. And then as you let this go and you reach your legs back, so the glutes are working, right? Just because you're stretching in front, so you're engaging in back. And then as you let go, as you lower down here, take the hands forward and then just lift towards a Sphinx Pose. So Sphinx Pose, we do get that like navel, like you could slide your navel forward here. And then lift up through the spine. Reach the chest forward. So this is going to get into lower back, like that part of your psoas, and all the way up your spine. Make sure it feels like this is comfortable. There's like some wiggle room, like some space in your spine. As you lower down, you're going to reach your arms back again. So do this in your own way. Remember that you're doing yoga. So I'm not just giving you commands. Take the legs maybe closer together if they've drifted apart. You're right on tops of the legs. And then you lift your Shalabhasana. You lift up. Even radiate back through your fingertips and your toe tips. Lots of space around your heart. And then could you practice that again? The bend of the knees at the same time. Grab ankles or tops of the feet. Bow pose. Breathe. Chest forward. Thighs really lifting up. So even though you're using your glutes, this is not causing your knees to fly apart. Rather, it's more of a thighs lifting up. And then as you let go, it's important then to just straighten your legs. And you are, as you're in Shalabhasana here again, as you lower down, actually let the legs separate. And then move yourself into your little Sphinx pose with the legs separated. Now, to be clear, like your feet are much wider apart on the outsides of the mat even. But you still are on top of the legs. You still have the legs not rotated, like your knees still point down here. And this is an interesting position then to really lift into Sphinx and possibly into a deeper Cobra Pose. So slide your hands way back And then push into your hands and lift up to Cobra. Lift your navel up. Possibly straighten your arms. Lower down. So as you're lowering down, really attentive. The spine is feeling. And lifting up again. There's Cobra without the arm assist. And then maybe you're using the hand. Like maybe you're pushing the lift up to the spine. Reach back through your legs. As you release down. You're going to let yourself pause here for a moment. So reach your legs back and then rotate your head, look to your right. Lift your head, rotate your head to look to the left. Dropping onto your right cheek. As you start to let go of this, take the legs closer together if they're still wide apart, and prepare for down dog. So the hands are on either side of the chest. You really push into your hands. So sensitive to the lower back when you lift your down dog. Get that plenty of distance apart so you can reach your hips way back. Maybe even a little kind of wagging your tail back and forth. So, knees are going to drop down. And we are going to move now into a low lunge position. So your right foot is going to step forward. And as it's forward, you're going to bend that right knee a lot, dropping your back thigh down. So left thigh dropping. Breathing. There's that stretch right in front of the left hip again. So you're going to take, in this position, take your left hand even a little further out to your left. And staying really comfortable, like push into the mat here and take your right hand up. And then your right arm is going to really reach up here and just lift and open. Now the little movement, you're going to tuck your back toes under, your left toes under. And then maybe lift, like bend that left knee, start to lift your foot up. Now what's going to happen is you're probably going to start getting a nice deep stretch in your quads back there. If it makes sense, actually take your right hand back and hold your left foot, like draw it in. And if that feels like way too much sensation, you just let go of the foot lightly. But still, like keep that foot kind of drawing in. Just breathe and feel your way into this. Like I know for me, it feels like a lot of sensation. So I play with this one a little bit. Like deep stretch for the quads. So it's certainly a stretch for the front of the hip, like the psoas, but it just goes deeper to the quads because of the bend of the knee. Now as you let go, bringing the hand back down and just with both hands down, that right knee is just going to step back. Left foot will step forward and find your low lunge position. which means that the back right thigh really drops down. You could stay here the whole time. So listening as you tuck your right toes under, and your right hand goes off to the right a little bit more. There's even that lift of the navel as you reach your left arm up. So it's really strong work. These are like really deep stretches, but also the work of staying light and lifted. Lift your back foot. And maybe that left hand reaching back to your right foot. This side might feel really different. Draw the foot in towards the butt, staying that lift of your navel. So you're not reflexing in your right hip. If it feels better, just let go of that right foot. So the right knee could be really bent. You're just not holding on to it. Good. As you let this go, moving that left foot back, knee back. Let's take our big giant down dog again. Hands wide apart, feet really wide apart. Just a feeling of wide and spacious. And then as your knees touch down, you're going to swing your legs forward and take your legs really wide apart. Upavista Konasana. Still important that we're not tucking the tailbone under or rounding here. You might even lean back a little bit and just reach out through your heels. Lift up. So we're going to start with a really fluid back and forth, where you lift your left arm up. You have to lift up through your spine. And start to extend out over your right leg. And just start to reach that left hand as if you could touch your toes. Grounding your left hip. Try not to let that left hip float up. Because when you ground the left hip, that really creates the stretch for the lower back. And then just take your whole left shoulder and just roll it down like you're facing your right leg. And maybe you do touch your toes. Breathe. And then you just roll the shoulder back open. And it takes you back upright. And we just switch sides. So that right arm lifting up. You stay heavy and grounded through your hips. And imagine just getting that trajectory in a way. You're just reaching like, oh, I could touch my left toes. So it doesn't matter, how close you are. Just feeling. And notice that this like what changes when you let that right shoulder, that top shoulder just roll forward. Like, oh, now I can kind of like reach across. So engage, straighten the legs. Just feel that heaviness of your right hip. And then the arm lifts up. Open that right shoulder and come back upright. Opposite arm, that left arm comes up. And at first, that left shoulder is very opened up. And then we intentionally roll it forward and reach. Same action here. Lift and open that right shoulder. Come all the way up. I'm sorry, left arm comes up. And then the right arm comes up. Reaching. And let the chest just face the floor. So as you reach across, deep breaths. And as you come up, lift that right arm, bringing yourself back up. Good. So these are getting into, so towards the end here, or we were getting into more of like the quads, and then that, kind of side of the back. So these muscles kind of around the psoas. Let's go on to the back side. Back side, when we lay on the back, this is, again, getting into that really wonderful deep work around the lower back and pelvis. Love doing this bridge pose. Now, I'm going to give you a little option here because as you just start to explore your bridge pose here, there's same instructions. Like you push into your feet, you start to lift your butt, you draw your tailbone in. Maybe notice how this feels today because of all the work we've done. Like really lift your hips up, lift your chest up. But this goes all the way up to the upper spine and to your neck. Lift the chest way up and notice the contracting of your glutes. And you can contract them as much as you want, but make sure that knees don't fly apart. Feel this, like having done all this preparatory work. And then just lower carefully back down out of your bridge pose. When you come down, place your hands on your belly and just pause here. So as you move into your bridge pose again, you do have the option, if you have a yoga block, sometimes we've done this where we take a yoga block under the sacrum. And you could do more of a supported variation of your bridge pose. So go ahead, and as you start to move into your bridge, well, certainly you could get up and retrieve your block like I'm going to do. Or just practice without. So if you're practicing without a block, you might just lift in and out of your pose a few times. Both, doing the work and yet breathing and just feeling at ease. There's really no specific agenda. Just breathing and feeling the body. So on my block, I'm going to place this. Feels okay today to take that high height of the block because of the work we've done. Staying grounded, pressing into the feet, grounding the shoulders, the upper arms. Drawing the tailbone up. Even if you're using a block, like I have the support of the block, but I'm just engaging a little bit. So the block is just supporting. I'm not completely passive. Breath moving through your nostrils. And then gradually letting go of your bridge pose. So, as we're laying here, we're going to do one action that is a familiar one that I teach, but with a different observation. So, the arms are going to go out to the side, and you're going to, with your knees bent, take your feet much wider apart. So, you're going to let the knees drop to your right side. And breathe way down to your pelvis. And you might feel this, there's the little stretch in front of your left hip. So legs go up and over to the other side. And as you drop your knees, you might feel like in front of the right hip, there's that space, that stretch there. And then lift your knees back up. But now take your feet closer to your butt. It's your knees are bending more. And draw your feet towards your butt. And then drop your knees over to the right. And really reach through that left knee and create, this might feel like a deeper quad stretch for your left leg. So the deeper you bend the left knee, you could even shift your foot a little bit here. Breathe and feel like just that right stretch across that left thigh into the quads, in front of your hip. Breathe your belly. And then go up and over. We'll just explore now the other side. So you're really bringing that right foot up, like kind of towards your butt, as you drop your knees to the left. Extend and reach down through that right knee. Feel that deep stretch. So this is a way now of getting into the stretch in a little more passive way when you're laying on the floor. I'm noticing as you're doing this here, there's that little bit of tightening of the glutes, of the right glutes, in order to open in front of your hip. So as you switch sides again, this is your own little study. You might walk your feet away from your butt again. Like if that depth of that stretch is too much, so drop the knees to your right. Let the head rotate to look to your left and just breathe. And feel maybe just a little tender movement in this pose just as you breathe, as you're opening to it. Switch sides. So as you're breathing, you can sense there's lots of space in your belly and in your lower back. Letting your head roll so you're facing the right. Good. And then as you release this, as you let go, just take the soles of the feet together and let the knees drop out to the side. And in a similar way, Take the hands behind the head, just loosely knit the fingers together and let the elbows drop out to the side. Feeling the spaciousness in your hips and your armpits. And then finally, as a little counter pose through your legs, hips, and for a little twist here. You bring your knees up, your arms could go back out to the side, and you're just going to cross your right leg over the left. So the thighs are crossing. Lift your left foot a little bit here, and then just drop your legs over to the right. Over to the left. Breathing, feeling the twist here. The length of the spine, the throat, mouth relaxed. See if you can relax your inner thighs here. Breathe to your belly. Just untwisting. Just letting the legs come up. Uncross your legs. And switch. Just cross the left leg over the right. Your thighs crossing. Keeping the sides of the body lengthened here as you lift your bottom right foot a little bit. And then just drop the legs over to the right. Breathing, adjusting your upper body. Now, of course, if the crossing of the legs just feels really uncomfortable and you tense up, then you could uncross your legs. Just breathe. Lengthen through your neck, your throat. Feeling the body opening to this. Gradually, as you untwist, as you undo your legs, just kind of reach your hands up and grab your kneecaps, keeping your knees together. Just kind of roll around on your lower back. Just a real gentle pressure, massage on the lower back. The breath to the belly. And then just dropping the feet to the floor. And as your feet drop, take them a little wider apart and let your knees drop toward one another. And let your inner knees rest together. So now the inner thighs really soften, relax. You can stay here for a while. Or take yourself to Shavasana. One thing you could do is you're letting the legs extend, or if you put layers back on or cover with a blanket, you might keep your hands like in front of your hips for a moment. Just feel the space that we've been working, just letting it kind of open, even a little pressing. And now moving into stillness, arranging the bones just right for your Shavasana. It's really important, I find, nowadays, like understanding this practice of taking care of your physical body doing this work. And then moving into Shavasana and moving into stillness. Being very clear. Now I'm moving into stillness. And Shavasana itself is this natural, like relaxing and lengthening of your psoas muscles. So make sure that your legs are completely relaxing and dropping. Bringing awareness to your face, just letting the skin on your face really soften. You could do this just by bringing your full attention here. Eyes calm. Face, your throat, your mouth relaxed. Even sensing the weight of your head dropping. Your shoulders dropping down. The weight of your arms. You might imagine your body is actually laying on a feather bed, and that you're gradually sinking the weight of the body. When the muscles relax, there's a sinking. Your whole spine now relaxing, back muscles doing nothing. The glutes doing nothing. Bringing awareness to your breath. The breath is flowing. There's this little river of breath. You might feel the energy in the body or a little tingling. So your body is completely still. As the body is completely still, the mind is aware of the stillness. There's this thorough, complete experience of putting everything down, exploring the effect of the poses, all of the work you just did. Aware of the whole body. Even noticing as you let go of Shavasana how the body just orchestrates itself to start to move. Working your way maybe back up to seated pose. And as you take palms together in front of your heart, just aware of the space at the heart. The softness of the throat. So may this practice help to build sensitivity and understanding both this importance of moving and this action and taking care of this body. And at the same time, understanding the importance of stillness. Just being receptive. Sensing the heart open. Close with the sound of Om if you want to. Deep inhale. Thanks so much, everyone. I wish you a wonderful ongoing practice. So today is Tuesday evening. Just as a reminder, we will have class, or I'll be live streaming on Friday morning. Keep in mind, I do have my other half-hour Zoom options that I have started Monday morning at 8, Wednesday morning at 7 a.m., and then Wednesday afternoon at 4. So these are all little half-hour classes. And then Saturday, I have a longer class, the 2-hour class from 9 to 11, which is a great way to give yourself just almost a little morning retreat on Saturday mornings. So if you want to attend those classes, the Zoom classes, you can let me know. You can write me at through Common Ground, Nancy at commongroundmeditation.org, or through my website, Nancy at boleryoga.com. So I'm going to throw those in, that one in the chat if you want. Nancy at boleryoga.com. Feel free to leave a little message in the chat if you want to. I always love feedback, of course. You know, it's great to hear from people, and let me know how this little or big SOAS class went for you today. Hope to see you soon, everyone. Have a good night.